Do 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 do.
I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati.
All right. Happy Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sab's podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you're new, I do want to let you know that Sab's podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Sabby and JB show, and you can catch me here on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays. I want to give a shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, Twitter, and Rumble. And welcome back, guys. It is a good Sunday for me because my Patriots won. We won one. I thought we were going to be 0-2 for a second, but we won. So that's a good one. Good way to start to the day. Tonight's theme is people are losing their minds. And yes, they are, folks. You've probably seen it yourself if you're on social media. We're going to kick things off with our special guest. We have a breaking story about the alleged Charlie Kirk shooter. This was announced recently by the BBC. We're going to bring in our special guest to discuss that. But first and foremost, I do want to show you what we are discussing tonight, fam. Like I said, people are losing their minds. Losing it. Oh my God. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing Megyn Kelly versus Barack Obama. Megyn's lost her mind too. We're going to get into all of this. She is giving Barack Obama credit for too many things, and we're going to debunk that. We're going to debunk it. We're also going to discuss huge interview with Tim Dillon and Max Blumenthal, where Max Blumenthal is giving more details about the Gray Zone article, but also information about Donald Trump's relationship with Israel and in particular, Benjamin Netanyahu. If you have not seen that interview, because we won't show the whole thing, but if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to watch that. We have a lot to get into. We're also going to discuss Marco Rubio and his crazy self may have the possibility to revoke U.S. passports for those who criticize Israel. And actually, Marco Rubio is in Israel right now. We're going to get into that. We're also going to discuss, again, I told you, we're going to dive into the breaking news story about the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk. This is a different story, just came out today. You guys have got to hear what he is saying. So we'll get into that. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about the doxing that is happening, the Charlie Kirk doxing, and what that could mean for you. So, ladies and folks, ladies and gents, let's go ahead and bring in our special guest. Again, the theme is people are losing their minds. His name is Ken McCarthy. You've seen him here before. He is the author of JFK and RFK's Secret Battle Against Zionist Extremism. Let's go ahead and bring him back in. Welcome back, Ken. What is going on?
Hey, Sabby, lots going on. And all my years of research into the various Kennedy assassinations has really prepared me to look at this particular case. So let's just jump in. First thing I want to say is I would have loved to just spend the weekend just chilling. But I watched video after video after video after video. And I'm just waiting for someone to start talking sense about this. So maybe I make sense, maybe I don't. We're going to find out. The first thing I want to say is about social media. I remember there was once a day when there was no social media. And that means people that were nasty and unhinged and crazy and said demented things, maybe they were mumbling to themselves or to a friend or two, and we never heard it. All right. We live in now a world where somebody can say something pure evil and a million people can hear it. So is it true that the world's lost its mind? Well, if you look at social media, it always looks like the world's lost its mind. But I believe that what social media does is emphasize the negative and bury the positive. So, this particular situation is somewhat sensitive because one side believes their hero was killed. Another side believes this guy, we don't like him anyway, was killed. All right. I think we need to put all that aside and get super clinical. And if we don't, we're gonna miss the plot. So that's my.
I agree with you. Before we get into that, I just want to show everyone this video really quickly. If you did not see this, a shout out to James Lee for this one, ladies and gents. Again, we're talking about the alleged shooter. This video here from James Lee, he is asking some questions, and I think people need to see this if they haven't seen it. So let's watch this. It's really quick.
I want to take a second to issue a retraction in regards to the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk. We are being told that it was not an Israeli conspiracy. It was, according to the FBI, the act of a lone gunman named Tyler Robinson, a deranged lone gunman who just happened to have not one, but two patsies in the crowd. We are also now being told that it was his father, Matt Robinson, now hailed as the father of justice, who turned his son into the authorities. In a press conference shortly thereafter, FBI Director Kash Patel proudly announced that the suspect was apprehended in record time, quote, in less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise. According to CNN, a family member told investigators that Robinson had, quote, become more political in recent years, and that the authorities had also discovered anti-fascist messages engraved on the ammunition. Prime Minister Netanyahu went on Fox News, though, to claim that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a combination of, quote, radical Islamists and ultra-progressives. Now, in terms of the murder weapon, the FBI stated that they found the shooter's rifle in the woods, fully assembled. And here is Robinson caught on CCTV footage making that getaway from the rooftop with said rifle.
Yeah. And Ken, I want to let you pick it up from here. I just wanted to give people the lowdown really quick before I tell them what the news is today.
That's a really good clip. I saw it. He's on it. He's on it. So my first question is, there's that old joke. A woman walks in and her husband is in bed with another woman, and the husband looks at her and goes, "Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?" And that seems to be what happens with every one of these things. We all have eyes. We all have common sense. And for some reason, we reflexively believe what's ever on TV. I do it too. I have to retune myself to see reality. It's a very powerful thing. So my first question, orientation, because I'm going to get into some heavy stuff here. And, I always challenge your listeners, as you know, with some stuff that seems out of the blue until someone looks into it and they're like, oh my God, he's right. Whenever has the original story been the real story? JFK? No. RFK? No. MLK? No. Malcolm X? No. 9/11? No. Vietnam War? No. The first story is almost, I mean, I've never seen a case where it was the real story. So let's just go with that. All right. Who gets assassinated? And this it's a political thing. So we call it an assassination. It's just murder with a political tinge, right? Someone with a big following. If you have no following, they're probably going to leave you alone. 2, if you're going through a change or some kind of evolution. And 3, if that change is a huge challenge to a very powerful force. So let's go through our assassinations. And again, let's be clinical about this. I'm not comparing Charlie Kirk to any of these people. I'm just talking about the dynamic. So we have, let's talk about Martin Luther King. He was harassed constantly, but they let him be until what? Until he came out against the Vietnam War. And then it was time for him to go. How about Malcolm X? Nation of Islam, he was doing all kinds of stuff, saying all kinds of stuff. Everything was fine until he came back from Mecca and said, you know, it may not be the white people that are the devil. It may be the system that's the devil. You know, he had to go. Even John Lennon. And I'm a person that believes John Lennon was assassinated. I don't believe the cover story that this crazy dude just plugged him. We could have a whole show about that, but trust me on that one. Why would you kill John Lennon? Because he finally kicked his heroin habit. He had a big problem personally. He got over it. And now he was healthy and back in the world. And what do we know about John Lennon? He had a big mouth and he was against war. And it was 1980. And they were gearing up for a whole bunch of new wars. Grenada, Panama, right? Iraq. They had to get that big following. That's the thing to keep in mind. If you have a big following and you become a danger to these folks, you are on your way out. All right, so we got that. Now let's look at this organization, Turning Point America? Is that what they call it?
Turning Point USA.
Turning Point USA. We need to know the history of this thing. And I'm really surprised. I'm watching the news. Maybe I missed it. I haven't heard anybody talk about this organization. It was founded when? 2012. Who founded it? Well, Charlie Kirk founded it, but there was another founder named Bill Montgomery. Okay. How old was Charlie Kirk when this got started? He was 18. Yeah. When did he start it? The day after he graduated from high school. All right, everybody sit back, think a little bit. Is it plausible that Charlie Kirk, is a spontaneous, natural creation? Okay, now he was obviously a talented speaker, a talented rhetorician, debater. He had star quality, no question, and he was showing it at 18. But how many 18-year-olds do you know who are to get something going? How many people know that he was Donald Trump Jr.'s right-hand man during the 2016 campaign? He was the assistant to Donald Trump Jr. for a whole year. Okay, how many people know the annual budget of Turning Point USA? Because he was just the tip of a very large iceberg. How about $80 million a year? How many employees do they have? 5, 10, 20? How about over 600? This was a big, big, big enterprise. And all these things you can confirm on the internet. You don't have to take my word for anything that I ever say. Yeah.
It sounds like you're alluding to that he was selected or he was chosen.
I would say, and that's $80 million, a lot of money to come in every year, and managing 600. He wasn't managing those 600 employees. He was the star. He's like, like you're the rock and roll guy or whatever. You're playing the lead guitar, and there's like the roadies, and there's the guy, your manager, and the guy that's doing the negotiations, and the people that are planning out the tour. I mean, it's an army behind him. All right. So he was the front man for something. And by the way, the traditional conservatives, at least back in pre-2020, did not like him because he was divisive. And they also felt he was fudging the numbers a little bit, claiming more members than he had, and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of, in addition to having his touring group, his show, And remember, it's one thing to have a podcast or a Facebook page and have 1 million followers or 10 million followers. When you can go city to city and bring out the kind of crowds that he brought out, that's power. And one of his organizations, one of the organizations with which he was affiliated, was a 501c4, which is not a PAC, and it's not they call it a nonprofit, but it's an organization that allows you to bring in money and use it to get out the vote. There is a legal designation to do that. Karl Rove had one of those things. Okay, so this thing was not, in addition, I mean, $80 million a year, pretty significant business. In addition to being a pretty significant business, by the way, all the revenue, donations. Okay, $5 here, $10 here, and lots of multi-million-dollar checks. From whom? We don't know. Because when you are contributing to a 501c4, you don't have to declare who you are.
That's what I was going to say.
There you
but
go.
It's coming from people that have a lot of money to give.
Yeah, and who want to be anonymous. So, I mean, who knows who's been giving him money or giving the organization money? That's the key. That's the key. There's an organization behind all this. Now, they claim to have chapters on 3,500 high school and college campuses. So a chapter means they've got like a leader, and that leader's recruiting kids, and they're having weekly meetings. And when Charlie comes to town, they all run to Charlie and they all tune into the show. And it's like all political organizations, it's a bit of a cult. And it was a cult built around Charlie. Make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm following.
Okay. Now, ProPublica looked into this cult, this organization. I mean, I don't want to disparage, it's just a group, right? And they found out that their finances were very sketchy. And one of the things you have to know about this group is again, their revenue comes from donors, and a quarter of their money is going to salaries. You have got 600 people on the payroll. That's a lot. And 60% or more goes to the travel expenses, the show expenses, and hats and printing and all that kind of stuff. Now, people that know about the world of politics know that there's a lot of money to be made in creating materials for campaigns. It is a cash cow, right? And the markups are huge and so on. So somebody somewhere, I don't know who it was siphoning off tens of millions of dollars every year in markups on printing and hats and t-shirts. So my point is, this was a huge enterprise. So let's move along from there. You have to excuse me because this is fresh information. All right. I don't know what that says. Okay. All right. Here's the problem with Charlie Kirk, and this is why he got hit. He was starting to ask some really uncomfortable questions. And I don't know if people have really dug deeply into his evolution in the last 6 months. But
we went over the article from the Gray Zone. We went over that yesterday. We did go over that part. So where he dived into that he rejected donations from Benjamin Netanyahu, and also that he did apparently speak to Trump about being against war with Iran. We went into those things that were in that Gray Zone article. Okay.
But he did things like invite Dave Smith onto his stage and let Dave Smith, am I giving the right name? There's so many names. Yeah. Okay. So, Dave Smith's not a pro Zionist, right? And right. He got on the main stage at one of their events and said, you people, you say you're pro-life, and yet you're letting babies getting killed in Gaza. He said that in front of that audience. And Charlie Kirk let him say it. And when people booed Dave Smith, Charlie Kirk said, stop, let him explain. And this, I know people don't like him, and I'm not a fan either way, one way. But when you look at the videos, he was starting to really talk about Israel a lot. And I'm drawing a blank on the guy. Who's the evil looking guy that wears the black yarmulke, the young guy?
Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro. Doesn't he look evil? I mean, he looks like a cartoon villain. My understanding is people need to check this because some of this is fast. The day before he was killed, Kirk aired a segment with he and Shapiro. And he was asking Shapiro, hey, what's the deal? And you could see Shapiro turning 10,000 different colors of rage as the question was being asked to him. So Now, here's the problem with Charlie Kirk, sorry. You're Israel. And you know, we've talked about this before. What are Israel's strengths? One, it's got nuclear weapons. And two, it's allowed to bribe any congressman. And they've actually, think about this, folks. They've corrupted our entire Congress, except for maybe one or two people. Every single person in Washington, we know for a fact, is on the take for Israel. Therefore, we're not represented. We have a group of criminals posing as legislators in the U.S. Congress, and that is the result of Israel and whoever else is able to shovel money at them. All right, so those are their two secret powers. But in terms of their political base, the most important political bases for them are Jewish Zionists. Okay, they've got them in the bag. They don't have to worry about the Jewish Zionists. They're not going anywhere. The big one, though, is the Christian Zionists. They cannot afford to lose the Christian Zionists. And Charlie Kirk was plugged in to the whole world of young, idealistic, enthusiastic, energetic, activist Christian folks who were told to love Israel, but like everybody else, were saying, wait a minute. And now Charlie Kirk is starting to repeatedly bring up the issue of maybe we need to ask some questions. The killers in Israel absolutely could not have let this guy live, period. He had to go. Because if he turned that demographic, he already had 3,500 chapters, right? And it's not like he had 3,500 people that subscribed to his YouTube. He had 3,500 leaders on 3,500 different campuses, high school and college. And we've seen how the Zionists have lost their mind when people protest on college campuses. What were they going to do when 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 Christian campuses that had been in their pocket suddenly start asking questions? So this is why Charlie Kirk was killed. To me, there's no question. He was a grave threat to the future of Israel. So that's why he had to go. So now we have to ask, does that mean Israel did it? Well, to answer that question, we would have to actually do things correctly, like gather evidence, right? Put evidence in a case, in a trial, look at the evidence, have people discuss it and debate it. What's the likelihood of that happening? Likelihood is very, very close to zero. Now, here's the reality, and this is a sad reality. A woman gets killed, okay, is murdered. No one knows who did it. If she's married, they're going to talk to the husband because, unfortunately, statistically speaking, you're more likely, it's tragic to be married, but to be murdered by somebody you know than somebody you don't know, and somebody really close to you than somebody not really close to you. That's just a fact. So the cops are going to have to talk to the husband, right? Now, if the husband, it turns out, has a girlfriend on the side and has an apartment on the other side of town, and after the wife is dead, he and the girlfriend are in Puerto Vallarta drinking Mai Tais on the beach, collecting the insurance money. Oh, now we've got a suspect. So we know that Israel had to get rid of this guy. So is a suspect. Okay, and they need to be treated like a suspect. Of course, they never will be. But those of us who are intelligent and have eyes that can see know that Israel is a suspect. So no one should say or can say Israel did it, but we can say, oh, Israel's a suspect here, because boy, did they had survival motivation to get rid of him. This guy was possibly the worst that could happen to them would be for Charlie Kirk to really turn and say, you know what? I was raised a Christian. I'm in this Christian thing, and I'm looking at what's happening to these children, and I just can't go there anymore. And by the way, you don't think the Israelis were surveilling every breath that guy took? They not only know his public, and in public, he was outspoken. They know what he was saying to his wife in bed. And if he was saying, darling, I don't know what to do here, I bet they have that. I bet they have that. I bet they knew he was getting even closer than we knew. Now, you may not like him, and I get it. But the power play here is if he came out against Israel, it would be like a nuclear bomb going off for them. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I just want to say to everybody, I think it is different when you compare the three, right? Like, so if you were to look at Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, and Ben Shapiro, all of them have a large following. But remember, when Candace was fired from the Daily Wire, a lot of people moved on with her. right? So she went and did her own thing, and she didn't seem like she lost any support, in my opinion, based on what I've been seeing. Like, she's growing very, very well. So there's that piece. But when you point out the numbers, this is what I was telling people. I think Charlie Kirk had an even more massive following, especially on the ground, because he was going to the colleges to speak to all these kids. So it's like having him turn, like if he were to say, you know what, I can't support what Israel's doing anymore, that would be a big, big major blow. And we have that poll that shows that younger people are moving away from Israel. That's not just younger people on the left, that's younger people on the right too. So yeah, it's I get where you're coming from. I get you.
You know, one of the themes of his following is America First. And we have video, and I'll send it to you. Maybe you can run it on another show sometime, where he actually brought chapter leaders together on a stage and asked them what they thought about Israel. And he let them say what they wanted to say. And he said some things about Israel that were not really complimentary. So yeah, having a ground game, you know, let's talk about, like in politics, for example, you can have the greatest ads in the world. You can be on TV all day, but if you don't have people getting out to vote, you're not going to win. Well, Charlie could get out the vote. In fact, he was instrumental, I would say, one of the instrumental factors in Trump winning, because he got out that youth vote. It's all hot air unless you have a ground game, and he had a massive ground game, which would have worked against the Zionists had he activated it on behalf of the women and children and men and being killed in Gaza, which he might have been on the verge of doing. And again, we only saw the stuff on the surface that he was saying in public, which was pretty strong given his position. We don't know what he was saying in private, but I guarantee the Zionists knew every word he was saying. All right, so let's go to the actual case itself. So what the Keystone Cops, right? It's just the Keystone Cops over and over again. They all should be wearing those big long hats and, you know, with a big badge. And I mean, it's just that they're just jokers. And then I'm watching all these YouTube, and they're bringing on, you know, former FBI agent. I'm like, did you guys ever do anything? Or did you just read things off of cereal books? All right. So the first thing is gunshot residue. All right. Remember when Oswald, I don't know if I'm into this stuff deep, but when the first thing they did after they arrested Oswald was they checked him for gunshot residue to see, because when you fire a gun, it shoots all this, you know, fine particulate and it sticks to you. Okay.
I was going to say, I learned that from the Murdaugh murders in South Carolina. That was one of the reasons why they were able to trace it back to the dad, because of the gun residue. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So have you heard? Now, by the way, some of these things may have been reported. I've looked, I can't get an answer. And you know, why wouldn't they report that? Because if they could report it, wow, this is good. We've nailed this guy. He's got gunshot residue on his cheek. Now, when they arrested him, apparently he was wearing the same clothes he wore when he was at the rally. So it would be on his clothes, it would be on his skin. I mean, boys are like that. You know, they don't necessarily change their clothes every day. What else? Oh my goodness. Pardon me, because
and let me know when you want me to show the screen.
Okay, I hope it's there. Did they determine whether that gun that they found in the woods, which we're going to talk about the woods in Utah in a second, did they determine whether it had been fired or not? That would have been an easy thing to determine, and that would have been an easy thing to report. Have not heard about that. Now, maybe this has been reported. Again, this is breaking in a way. They talked about the source of the gun. I don't know. I kind of looked around. I didn't find any answers. Usually they tell you within a day, oh, this came from this shop, or it belonged to his grandfather or something. We don't know the source of the gun. Where's the bullet? There's got to be a bullet somewhere. And I don't want to get gruesome, but that size bullet going that speed should have gone through him. Might be stuck in him. But if it's stuck in him, they've got it. And if it went through him, they should have it. And you would think they would say, well, this kind of looks like a 30-08 bullet and whatever. But they haven't talked about that. What else haven't they talked about? Oh, the woods. So everybody should someday go to Google and look above this campus. This is the desert. The only woods are people that have planted trees together and watered them. There's no woods. Okay. And they haven't reported where exactly. They just said in the woods. There's actually some woods on the campus, but they're not really woods. They're just a bunch of trees that are been, put there. Small point, but it's important. Other weird thing, they found the gun, they say, and they say it was wrapped in a blanket. Okay. But the photograph they show us is the gun in a clean, sort of brand new gun. It looks like, guns come in cardboard boxes, just like everything else. And when you look at the actual picture, it's a gun in a cardboard box. Now, is that significant? I don't know. But why not take the picture? First of all, I don't understand why you would separate the gun from the blanket. I mean, that should have been taken as one unit, put in, because you're supposed to keep chain of custody from the event. You find it, and then you got to have a chain of custody all the way to the end. Now they're taking the blanket and they're putting the blanket somewhere, and the gun's going. That's not kosher. And also, it almost looks to me like they had to buy a gun. It was in the box. They opened the box and they took a picture of it.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, that's just speculation.
Well, one of the things that I want to add that I found kind of weird is that they said, okay, so the video that I saw that we showed earlier, he was coming off of allegedly, that was him coming off of the roof, but there was no rifle in hand, right?
Good.
But then I did learn that you can disassemble that rifle, and he could have disassembled it and put it in his book bag.
They've been fooling you. They've been fooling you. That rifle. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that rifle cannot be disassembled easily.
Well, even then, but if he did all that, then why would he put it back together and put it in the woods?
It's so right. It's so crazy. I mean, the first lie is that rifle requires screwdrivers. It requires minutes, not seconds. You need to know what you're doing. You need to have a steady hand to take that gun apart. So the idea that he took it apart, assembled it on the roof, fired, disassembled it, put it in his bag, reassembled it, put it in the, I mean, it's nuts beyond belief, right? And it goes to that, who are you going to believe, your me or your lying eyes, right? And because the media is so strong on all of us, you see it on the news, you assume it's true, but it can't be. This could not have happened. They also say, well, he stuck the rifle down his pants and that's why he was limping. You cannot. He was wearing t-shirt and jeans. You cannot stick a rifle. Now, if you're wearing big baggy clothes, maybe, but even then, nobody hides a rifle in their clothing. So that didn't happen. The other thing, this ammo is really weird. Could you do it by hand? I guess. They haven't really talked. They haven't shown us the pictures of the ammo, which is really weird. Also, the way this is done is with laser, okay? And the people that do this, there are companies that will engrave your bullets if you really want it. They won't engrave live rounds because it's too dangerous. They only engrave shells that have been fired off. Now, the weird thing, this is just a weird thing, that guy that I talked to you about, the other founder, he owned a company in Sarasota, Florida, or he was part of a company in Sarasota, which is spook heaven. It's a lot of CIA guys down there. They go to retire down there. He owned a company that did laser engraving. He's dead now. He's been dead 5 years. I know it's just weird. It's a sidebar. But the main thing people have to know is no way, no how did this guy disassemble a rifle, assemble it on the roof, disassemble after a shot. So he can't have done it. So when you look at the problems with the case, which we've already discussed, notice that the prosecutor, typically when you have something like this goes down and they have their big announcement, the prosecutor comes out and they make theirs because they want to wave the flag. Hey, here I am, and make sure you elect me 2 years from now because I'm a big wheel. They love to be there. Prosecutor did not come out, was not even on the stage. What does that tell me? That prosecutor's a little worried about the quality of evidence here, because this all boils to the guy. Look, to shoot somebody, you have to have had a rifle in your hands. There's no evidence. Maybe he was on the roof. Maybe he did jump off the roof, but there's at no point. So let's show the picture where I think the shot really came from. Oh my God, that's the wrong picture. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not real good at this technology stuff. Oh Lord. Okay. All right. I'm going to need your help, Sabby. You can.
Okay. Yeah. It just goes with whatever you choose to share.
I know, no, but I don't have another picture. I'm not really good at this. Could you put that picture back up and we'll talk it through?
Okay.
All right. You see that circle? Do you see my mouse? No. You don't see my mouse moving around?
No.
No.
I do see the circle.
Can your mouse go in there and move around?
No, because it's your screen that's being shared.
Oh, this is tragic. Okay.
It's okay.
All right, well, we'll do what we can with what we got. All right.
Yeah.
The circle is where the tent was. Okay. The square is where they say he was. Okay. So everyone following that? There's a dotted line in between. Here's the problem. One of the things they keep telling us over and over again is we're not going to show you the actual shot. It's too disturbing. Don't look at it. It's horrible. Well, if you want to know what happened, you need to see the shot. He was shot from the, he was shot on his right. He was shot, let's see, here. And he went this way. Okay. So, okay. Well, let me bring myself back just to get, technology. Can you bring me back and I'll show you the problem. For those of you that didn't see it. Oh, so we're reversed. All right. If he got shot front on, which is what they're saying, if I push you from the front, where are you going to go? You're going to go this way. Yeah, you might go a little to one side or another. He went, I have to go reverse. He went fully like that. Okay, go look at the video. If you know, you can find it if you look. Okay, if he went fully like that, that means the shot came. That means the shot came from here, from the side. Now, Sabby, if you go back to the campus, in order to validate that he was that it was the guy on the roof that did the shot. Okay, this is the line. It's, oh gosh, I'm so sorry I don't have the right thing. But if you actually draw a straight line from the point of this pentagon where he was, it actually comes way out here. Okay, this is a serious angle, and it's angled to the wrong side. Okay, that's really what everybody needs to keep in mind. It's angled on the wrong side. So now here's the thing that you're not going to hear anywhere else. The better place to shoot him to get that result where he gets it in the neck on that side was this building. Okay, can you see? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not pointing. Okay, see that square?
Yeah.
See those trees? Jump across those trees. And you see, that's a big building. There's a gray surface and then there's a tan surface. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. That building is the tallest building on campus. And it's got a clear shot to the tent. And it's coming from the correct angle. Whereas the other place just is not the correct angle. And I spent all afternoon creating the angles to show you, but I didn't have somebody to help me with the tech side of uploading. But people will just have to visualize this. Now, here's the $1 million point. Guess what that building is? That building's under construction. Okay? If you look at the videos and the pictures of this event, there are people everywhere hanging off of every possible space. There is no way shooters close to him, anyone could have hit him close. And I'm looking at this, studying it, trying to figure out what the heck it is. Then I see this gray building. It's on the far right, and the gray with the tan. And I look it up. What's that building? What's an automotive science building? By the way, one of the 10 most important, believe it or not, you go to this school and you will get a job with GM, period. It's a very high level automotive technology school. They're rebuilding it. They just capped it. Cap means you've put on the very top structural element. So it's as tall as it's going to be. And there are probably some floors. And what do we know? There's probably going to be stacks of what? Building materials on those floors. Will there be any people in that building? No, because it's under construction. But what there will be is a place where someone could get a clean shot from the right elevation and hit it at the right angle. And I tell you, everybody, go look at how he was actually shot. You can find the video. There's no way he was shot from the front. No way, no how, impossible. The only other angle that makes sense is this empty building where you could hide as a sniper behind building materials. So anyway, that's just a thesis, but it makes a lot more sense than this crazy angle they're trying to sell us. And then,
so I thought when I watched the video, I thought it did come from the side. I didn't think it came from.
Oh, but they're selling us that it came head on. If you look at their reports and their news, because here's the deal: if you're going to be a sniper, you need a couple of things besides shooting. You need to be able to conceal yourself. You need to be able to create, it's good to be able to create distractions, and it's good to make it easy to get away. A real sniper, not this guy who was up there with no gun. Okay? So the distractions were, right, the old man that they arrested. Remember? Did you see that? And then someone had an air gun. I mean, that was in the news and disappeared really fast. That was a distraction. I believe that the guy who's in jail currently was distraction number 2. They are telling us that the shot was head on, and the only way it could be head on is if it came from where that man was hanging out. Now, let's talk about Sirhan. Let's talk about even Lee Harvey Oswald. Let's talk about the guy that shot John Lennon. I'm drawing a blank on his name. And this is in my book, JFK and RFK's Secret Battle Against Zionist Extremism. I have a whole chapter on the RFK murder. You can't create a super soldier with MK Ultra, hypnosis, and drugging and all that. That you can't do that. You can create patsies. Sirhan is a perfect example of a patsy. He showed up. He had a gun in his pocket with blanks, I'm almost certain. He started firing it, but the guy that actually killed Kennedy was standing right behind him. And we know that because the medical examiner said there were powder burns on his jacket, and the shot came from right behind his ear. You can't shoot somebody who's in front of you. You can't get shot from somebody who's in front of you behind the ear. It's just, you can't reach his arm around, right? So I believe this guy's probably, if the shot came from the building that I think it did, I believe this fellow who's in jail right now is just an MK Ultra type of person. I don't know what they call what they're doing these days now. He's a patsy. And then they keep talking about the internet. If you do any research at all, you will find out that using the internet is the greatest thing in the world for cults and people that are trying to scam people and people that are trying to, rope people in. It's the greatest tool ever invented. You can send out millions and millions of messages, find the 1 out of a million people who's vulnerable and grab them, and then hey, I need you to be here this day. I want you to climb up on the roof. As soon as he shoots, I want you to run down because, you create some wild and bizarre scenario for the guy, and he just goes and does it. The other thing is about Sirhan, and this kid may be the same. There are people, you can hypnotize them, and they will not remember why they did what they did. Sirhan, and I believe him, and many psychiatrists, including some of the top people in the world who've spent dozens of hours with him, believe that Sirhan, when he says he doesn't know where he was or what he did. All right. So all you would need to do is take some kid, rope him in via the internet, get him involved in some kind of, hypnosis program, and tell him, hey, go on that roof, run around, jump around, make a lot of noise, right? Run away, but let's take this back. Here's what we know without a doubt. You cannot assemble that particular rifle quickly. You cannot disassemble it quickly. You can't reassemble and you'll lose a screw for one thing. It's not like you just bend the thing and throw it in your backpack. That's mythology. In fact, if you want to verify that, the second screenshot that I gave, that I was able to upload, this is people talking about the collapsible bolt rifle thing. This dude, and this is the person. This was some weird security guy that claimed that you could fold up a rifle in 1 second. 440. There are a lot of people that know guns in this country. We may not know much. We may not know how to read, but there's a lot of people that know guns. 443 people up thumbed that the guy that said that was full of shit. Here's another guy saying, if this guy's a gun expert, I'm a rocket scientist. And by the way, no down thumbs, right? So we go back. So that's that. The main thing to realize is the first story is never the real story. It's never been the real story. When there's a high level thing like this, it's planned out really well. Part of it is to have a patsy. And the patsies can be manipulated via psychology. And
well, here's this is what you believe, right? This is what you believe.
This is a potential scenario. I do believe with all my being that a man that does not have a rifle cannot shoot anybody. And there's no evidence he ever had a rifle.
So this is what he is saying today. This is breaking news. KIRK suspect not cooperating with authorities, the governor has said. So listen to this. Charlie Kirk's alleged killer is not cooperating with authorities and has not confessed to carrying out the shooting. Suspect Tyler Robinson, 22, was taken into custody some 33 hours after Kirk, a 31-year-old right-wing activist, was shot dead in Orem on Wednesday. So just for people who don't understand this, when they say that they're not cooperating, it's in this case, it means that he's not admitting guilt here. He's not saying that he did it. So he still is not confessing to this crime. Now, what's really weird about this, though, just to add to this, he says he didn't do it. Remember, there's always two sides to a story, but his parents turned him in. His dad turned him in. That's how they got him. So when the FBI was saying we got him, it wasn't that they did all this investigative research and they found him. He was turned in by his father, who was also in law enforcement. But he is saying that he is not taking credit for this. He is not confessing.
His father's a weird guy because, what evidence does his father have that he did it?
I don't know.
And so we'd probably have to dig deep into his, but I bet part of the patsy finding process would be to find a father that would, is so law and order that he's just going to turn his own son in on no evidence. I mean, and basically what the media, and this is just shows to show you how under the thumb of the media we are. He saw his son on the news media and they said his son did the shooting. So from his limited mind, I better turn my son in because he's the guy that did it. He didn't think through, and maybe he's going to. He didn't think through, well, gee, they never showed my son with a rifle, and you can't take one of those rifles apart in 2 seconds. You need a table, you need screwdrivers, you need, if you have, you need light, you need all kinds of things. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it lying prone on the ground.
Yeah, but what I think is important for people to just note is, as of Sunday, today, by the time you guys see the clip, it'll be Monday. He is not confessing. He is not saying that he did this. And so I think that people really need to just take a step back. Doesn't mean that he's telling the truth. It doesn't mean that they're telling the truth. But the point is that there are two sides to a story. And I thought it was really interesting. The moment, first of all, the FBI and the media got this wrong from the get-go. They said they arrested the shooter, and that guy wasn't even the shooter. And then they had to let that guy go. The older man that you were talking about, he wasn't the shooter. So then they had to let him go. Then they came up with all these other things, right? They've said all these different things about him, who the shooter is or who they thought that the shooter was. But at the end of the day, there are two sides to a story. And what I found to be very concerning is that everybody just jumped on board and said, just agreed with it and nodded their heads and go with the media, go with the FBI and say, oh, well, they said he did it, so this is the guy. Yeah.
Well, he's being held on what's that? Probable cause. They haven't given the formal charges yet. That's going to happen Tuesday. We'll see what happens. They need let's put it this way. They need a whole, let's say, Sabby, you were somewhere and there was an assassination and someone saw you running off a roof. They can't put you in jail because you ran off a roof unless they knew you had a gun. And if they videotaped you every step you took and you never had a gun in your hands. By the way, the other question is, this $80 million organization, they couldn't afford a drone to fly over this space to secure this kid.
Well, then there's other things too. The FBI said that there were messages in the Discord server where he was basically, he put messages on there saying that, oh, this is what I'm planning to do. But Discord released a public statement that said they located his account, but there were no messages on Discord that said such a thing. So that tells you, again, those messages, that if they're real or not, did not exist on Discord. So why did the FBI say that the messages were there and Discord is telling you they were not?
Yeah. And why don't they do simple things like, is there gunshot residue on him? Had the rifle been fired? Can we find any picture of him with this rifle ever? Et cetera, et cetera.
And these are just simple things. And I don't know the full story. I have my belief about what I think is happening here. But the reality is the fact that so many people just jumped on board with this scenario and didn't ask these simple questions. Like, are people, so all of a sudden Discord just doesn't even know what's on their own server? And by the way, Discord has been known before to remove people from their platform for their behavior outside of their platform. That has happened before. I've seen it happen to people. So there's that. But then there's this clip. I want to play this. So first of all, shout out to this damn squirrel. Z Squirrel is always on it. I never saw this clip before, but this was from 60 Minutes. From back in the day. I believe that is Leslie Stahl. I believe that's who that is. So she talked to Mossad or someone who was a part of the Mossad or whatever. Listen to this.
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel. Shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
This is Mossad's old office. Its motto from Proverbs 24:6 says in so many words, wage war through deception and trickery, kind of like the CIA's smoke and mirrors, which is what this operation was all about.
So I wanted to play that for people because the thing is, again, we're talking about like intelligence, etc. I think, Ken, I think you have a point when you say that usually the first version of the story isn't the full story or isn't the true story. I think you're right. And you would think that we would have learned this from history over time. But I wanted to play that video because I want to prove a point. Like, intelligence doesn't just wake up one day and say, oh, yes, we did this. Netanyahu doing this press tour and telling people Israel had nothing to do with this. Did anybody not find that to be weird? You didn't see any other foreign leaders just show up on all these different channels and say, no, it wasn't us. So just put everything together. So what I'm saying is that conversation there with that guy and Leslie Stahl, what that tells you is he said, we write the script. We are the producers. We are the directors. Intelligence is very, very, very smart. So the fact that so many people were just willing to jump on board with the first story that the media gave you and not ask questions, we should know better by now. That is what I will say.
That's it. And it's a hall of mirrors. And remember, it was James Angleton that taught the Mossad. You know, that's how the Mossad grew up. They were trained by the CIA. And the CIA were trained by the British, and they're experts at this. You know, false flags, cutouts. You think they study magic not because they want to be magicians, but magic is the art of misdirection. It's not really the trick that you do; it's getting people to look left when you're doing something with your right hand, and
right.
That's what it's all about. And to me, this was a perfect example. They had the one set of distractions, and they had the guy running around on the thing. And nobody has talked about the fact that there was a high-level building that is under construction, which means nobody's in it, and there's a lot of building materials, and it would have been a much better place to take a shot from. And again, when you look at where this fellow was shot, he was not shot head-on, and that's what they're trying to sell us. It'll be very interesting to see what happens Tuesday when the district attorney comes in and tries to come up with charges. And maybe they'll have charges, but I don't think they have enough on this guy. His dad said he did it. Well, there's some thing on Discord that said he did it, but now that's missing. He shot him with a rifle, but now the rifle, there was no evidence that he ever had the rifle. But the rifle reminds me of the passports that were found on the top of all the rubble of 9/11.
It's just crazy. I just hope you guys do your own research and look more into this, because I mean, if it were me and I'm just, again, if I were a detective and I'm looking at all this information, I'm just kind of like, okay, so what proves that he actually did it? Especially now that it is being released that he is not confessing to this. So people need to actually look at evidence and not just go with the narrative that is shoved in front of your face. And it could come out that he is guilty. But I think what has happened is that he's already been made guilty in the eye of public opinion without enough evidence. So something to think about. Ken, thank you so much for your time. Again, where can people follow your work?
Well, we have a website now that has my various books on it. It's called BrassCheckBooks.com. And that's where you can get the book, JFK and RFK's Secret Battle Against Zionist Extremism. You can get JFK Anti-Imperialist. There's a whole bunch of books there. So that's BrassCheckBooks.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. Bye.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ken McCarthy. We're going to keep it moving on. We have other stories that I do want to cover as well. Again, tonight's theme is people are losing their mind. Yes, they are. They are losing their mind. So you can see what is happening when we get into the other stories as well, ladies and gents. First and foremost, let's give a shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron, and then we will keep it moving on. If you haven't done so, smash the like. What are you waiting for? Hello. Shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you. Appreciate you, fam. If you're interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories. Ultimate, Sabinators, there's Sabsters. Don't forget about Sabbies. They're kind of cool too. I think they're cool peeps. And we also have a group called Members. All of their names are listed here. And you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen on the ticker. Thank you. We're going to shout out new patrons as well. We call them newbies over here. Let's give it up for Stephen, Christine, Sandra K. Davis, and Warren Bryce. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you all and welcome. Okie dokie doke. Let's keep this show moving. Go to a couple comments here. Shout out to Jonathan for becoming a new member. Give Jonathan a big whoop whoop. And we're going to give a shout out to Dr. Daniel LaRoche, MD. Also, new Sabby member. Give Dr. Daniel a big whoop whoop. Thank you so much for the super sticker, D. Belfry. Thank you, Tuxedo Mask. It's a literal menorah-shaped terrace. Interesting. And thank you, William. Did Dad get the $100,000 reward? Interesting. Interesting question there. All right, guys, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. If you are new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. And we're going to get into this crazy ass story. Like I told you guys, people are losing their minds. And that includes Megyn Kelly. Megyn, you've been all over the place. She's been all over the place. But now she is trying to give Obama credit for something that Obama does not deserve credit for. Really does not. And I have the data to back up my point here. Let me show you what Meg Kelly just said recently. She was talking about, Charlie Kirk, and she brings Obama into this conversation, giving him credit for things that I really don't think, at least most of us in the Black community, would give Barack Obama credit for. Here we go. Oh my God.
We don't feel like ourselves. We haven't felt like ourselves in a while. And I'm sorry to get political, but I'm just going to be honest. We haven't felt like ourselves since Barack Obama. I just think he was such a slick snake. He was this affable guy who was like wearing good suits and looked the part and sounded the part and dressed the part, but was so divisive in his messaging. The left, they look at you like when you say this, they don't know what you're talking about. It's like, because you don't pay attention to the other half of the country. You only pay attention to your absurd news sources, which spin and spin and spin to protect Democrats, especially if they're named Obama. He's the one who started to inject race where no one had been doing it. He's the one.
Pause. So Megyn Kelly believes that it was Barack Obama who started injecting race into everything. I'm going to show you how the data actually doesn't show that, and some of his actions do not show that. But let's continue.
He's the one who started to inject race where no one had been doing it. He's the one who started to use his pen and the phone to shove things down our throat that we didn't want. He's the one who shoved through an entitlement on our health care and our personal doctor visits that he promised he wouldn't mess with. And then he did, really hurting people, causing massive anger and open lies. He never missed an opportunity to twist the knife on the racial issue. He would do it subtly and in his own way, but it was very clear what he was doing. For the first time, we had a president who weighed in on legal cases before they'd played out. We never did that. That was a taboo that had never been crossed before him. And Donald Trump was the reason Barack Obama, reverse that. Barack Obama was the reason Donald Trump came about, that he was born as a political figure. They say Trump's divisive. He was the antidote. He was the answer to the divisiveness of Barack Obama. And we just haven't felt like ourselves for years now.
So I don't know what the hell Megyn Kelly has been drinking. I don't know what Kool-Aid has gone down her throat recently. But as someone who was excited about Barack Obama in 2008, I'll be the first to let you know Barack Obama ran on a lot of promises and he did not fulfill these promises. So Megyn Kelly here is trying to give Obama more credit than he actually deserves. So let's get to the divisiveness that Megyn is talking about. Barack Obama, for one, yeah, Black president. But what did Barack Obama actually do for the Black community? What did he actually do? Because I'm going to show you some of the things that he did and how that actually hurt the Black community more. Right? She mentions the divisiveness. There's been divisiveness under Barack Obama. I can't speak about George Clinton. I can't speak about Bill Clinton. I called Bill Clinton George Clinton. George Clinton is cool, okay? George Clinton, we want the funk. So anyway, I can't speak much about Bill Clinton, right? So I found out things about Bill later on, so I don't much about that. But we have been divided. We were divided, yes, under Barack Obama, but not for the reasons that she's saying. I'm going to show you where the division came from. We were divided under Donald Trump. We divided under Donald Trump right now. We were divided under Joe Biden. But she keeps wanting to bring it up for the race thing. Donald Trump brought up race too. Donald Trump bringing up race right now. So what is Megyn Kelly? What is her real issue? Because I'm going to show you what the data shows. Let's go ahead and bring this in. Since she thinks that, he did so, bringing race into everything. Let me show you what happened under Barack Obama's presidency, in particular for the Black community. This is 9 charts about wealth inequality in America. Because see, saying something and doing something are 2 different things. So let me get to my chart here. Check this out. Wealth gaps by race and ethnicity at large. So this is from 1963 to 2022. So we're going to include, obviously, it'll show Barack Obama's years. When we look at 2008, so it starts here. We're going to highlight here. I hope everybody can see that well. 2007, and we'll go down to show you. In 2007, Black wealth was estimated to be $192,000. Okay, this is by family. The average family was estimated to have $192,000. After Barack Obama wins, just watch this. Watch how it goes down. All the way to 2010, it decreases to $135,000. Let's continue. 2013, it decreases to $126,000. This is all still under Barack Obama's presidency because he was president for 2 terms. Now, I'll be the first to admit here, the economy was already starting to sink under George W. Bush. I'll be the first to tell you that. I lived that. I remember it. But the reality is there was something in particular that happened under Obama's presidency that caused Black wealth to tank. And Barack Obama had a choice. He had a choice to save Black elders and help them keep their homes or to bail out Wall Street. And I will show you what happened after the decision that he made. This is the thing. So when Megyn Kelly says these things, Barack Obama didn't do anything for Black Americans. Not in this country. This is a common misconception. And I don't know why people like her and others continue to spread this lie. The data shows otherwise. And those of us who lived it, we know otherwise. So if you continue to look here again, the yellow line, you'll see we're just starting to have an increase a little bit here. When we get to 2016, we jump up to 170,000 wealth. When we get to 2019, we dip back down to 164,000. And now here's 2022, 211,000. And I wish this went further so I could show you more. The point is this, folks. We were at $192,000 before Barack Obama's presidency, and we saw a significant decrease during that time. This is the part that I continue to tell people. People lost their homes. Some of us couldn't get jobs. Like, it was a lot that people were going through at that point in time, and that is the subprime mortgage crisis. So if we want to revisit this, staggering loss of Black wealth due to the subprime scandal continues. Okay? So let's fast forward here. I'm going to jump down here. In 2007, the bursting of the housing bubble triggered an economic recession that rippled throughout the global economy. For years, the housing market had been booming. In 2007, the U.S. median price for a home hit a record high of $247,000, roughly. By 2009, though, that number had fallen to $216,000. It goes on to say here, although the foreclosure crisis left no part of the country untouched, and they're talking specifically here about Prince George County in Maryland, in Washington, D.C. area, which overall weathered the crisis well, Prince George's County bore the brunt. The reason? Subprime lending. A subprime mortgage is a loan that carries a higher interest rate than prime mortgages. Prime mortgages are often given to lenders with the best credit histories, while subprime mortgages are designed for borrowers with flawed credit histories. The higher the interest rate that comes with the subprime mortgage is intended to pay the lender for taking on a risky borrower. Now, if we fast forward here, across the nation, Black homeowners were disproportionately affected by the foreclosure crisis, with more than 240,000 Blacks losing homes that they own. We'll chime in here for a second. Barack Obama had a choice, and he decided to bail out Wall Street. The people who lost their homes, and some of you may know people who lost their homes. A lot of people that were targeted were Black elders. When they lost those homes, they lost their wealth. The reason why, one thing that MEGYN said was Barack Obama led us to Donald Trump. I agree with that statement, but not for the race reasons that she's saying. It was Barack Obama's economic decisions that let someone like Donald Trump be able to win. You can see this in the voting numbers. The Black vote for Barack Obama was higher in 2008, almost at 99%. I think it was like 98%. It was very high. But when Obama ran for re-election, the Black vote for him declined. And a lot of that has to do with Black families losing that wealth. One of the quickest ways to establish wealth in this country is home ownership. So when Black people lost their homes and Barack Obama made the choice to bail out Wall Street, they didn't get those houses back. That was wealth that was lost. When you lose generational wealth or wealth that you've managed to establish, it is very hard to get it back. Number one, your credit's screwed. So good luck trying to buy another house. Number two, you don't have much money left because of the situation that happened. And number three, some of these people were in situations where the home was almost paid off. So who wants to start that all over again? So Barack Obama, that was a perfect opportunity where Barack Obama had a chance to do something for the Black community, and he chose to bail out who? Wall Street. This part is very important. Black homeowners, again, over 240,000 lost their homes because of that subprime mortgage crisis. Again, Barack Obama has to take credit for that. Let's move on to the other issue. I want you to see what Barack Obama said. This is when he was running for office. What Barack Obama said when the reparations issue came into the discussion on the debate stage. Here's Barack Obama, here's Hillary, all of them. Listen to this.
Senator Obama, your position on reparations?
I think the reparations we need right here in South Carolina is investment, for example, in our schools. I did a town hall meeting in Florence, South Carolina, in an area called the Corridor of Shame. They've got buildings that students are trying to learn in that were built right after the Civil War, and we've got teachers who are not trained to teach the subjects they're teaching in, high dropout rates. We've got to understand that there are corridors of shame all across the country. And if we make the investments and understand that those are our children, that's the kind of reparations that are really going to make a difference. Is anyone on this?
So let me just, so that was his response. Let me be very clear here. You know the problem with this response? When Barack Obama was asked head on about reparations, which is a debt that is owed, Barack Obama's response to that is, let's fix the schools. He didn't do anything for Black people. MEGYN said he injected race into everything. That question, reparations, is specifically about race, but more importantly, it is about people who are the descendants of slavery. And when he is asked a question about that, Barack Obama pivoted away from that and said, let's fix the schools. But Megyn Kelly's saying he injected race into everything. In fact, Barack Obama ran away from this a lot. And those of us in the Black community know this. The other problem here, reparations, again, like I said, is a debt that is owed. We're talking about the 40 acres and a mule that was promised to those who were freedmen and their descendants. It is a debt that is owed. Why are you bringing up the school system? And I asked that question because the public schools, and I lived in South Carolina, the public schools are funded by property taxes. So if you don't have, you don't have a lot of funding coming from property taxes, which a lot of us don't, the schools are not going to have a lot of resources. These things are connected. So in order to have more money from the property taxes to help the schools, that means that you would have to have a pathway to help more Black people become homeowners. People don't want to talk about this. A lot of times Barack Obama pivoted away. That was right there on the debate stage. We should have known then. Should have known. Here's another example. Because we're gonna go here. We are going to go here. Don't forget when he said he would not do anything for Black America. Shout out to the African Diaspora Network. Again, this footage of Barack Obama saying he's not doing anything for Black American is going viral again. Check this out.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans. If there was a banking crisis, then you target money for the banks. If there was a national disaster, you target your money for the national for disaster relief.
That's not how America works. We want to give those young people and young Native Americans like them the support they deserve. We have to invest in them and believe in them and love them.
Why not target?
Do you guys see what is happening here? And I remember this interview with Barack Obama. No, we can't do anything for them.
Target the African American community. Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans.
That's not how America works.
President Barack Obama has begun new initiatives aimed at helping young American Indians or Native Americans overcome the many challenges they face, from poverty to substance abuse.
You see what is happening here? So Barack Obama was another example, and you see this with other politicians too. Whenever he was asked a question about helping Black Americans, you see how he pivoted away. That's not how America works. But when it came to other groups, Barack Obama actually did help. Barack Obama helped indigenous groups in this country. Barack Obama helped. A lot of people don't want to hear this, but Barack Obama also implemented reparations to Jewish Americans under his presidency as well. He just wouldn't do it for Black people. So what are you talking about, Megan? This is the thing that drives me crazy. People just come up with anything. So I guess he injected race into everything because he was there as a Black guy, but he didn't do anything for Black people. But he did things specifically for other groups. I know Black families now still trying to get their wealth back. So it just, no. So you can see yourself.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you, this is for African Americans?
That's not how America works. And few have been more marginalized and ignored by Washington for as long as Native Americans, our first Americans.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you, this is for African Americans?
That's not how America works. There you go.
And again, I'm here. I'll be the first to tell you, are there things that should be done for indigenous communities in this country? Absolutely, 100%. So I'm not here to say, oh, no, don't do anything for those people. Hell no. But I am here to say, look at again, just another example where he made it very clear that he wasn't going to do anything for Black people. So it's just, this stuff isn't hard to find.
So as you saw there, he was being interviewed about why he didn't do anything for Black Americans. And then he basically said no, but then they spliced together him giving all the reasons why he can help Native Americans, right? And so it was kind of put together with different instances of him doing that.
Yeah. So that's just another example. And here's another one. We can't forget about what happened when Barack Obama went to Flint, Michigan. Now, Flint, Michigan is a predominantly Black area. You guys all know the story about Flint. You know that the dirty water, people were poisoned there. People have developed diseases. Like Jordan Sheridan came onto the show to talk about this and his book about Flint, Michigan, multiple times. You cannot forget that Obama, he stood there in that room of predominantly Black people, and he pretended to drink that dirty ass water.
That's how we invested in community colleges and land grant colleges like Michigan State. We invest. Can I get some water? Come on up here. Give me some water. I want a glass of water. I want a glass of water. Sit down. Where do we go from here? Well, I'm still waiting for my water.
Now, see, Obama he's a great public speaker. Obama was very charismatic, and that's how he was able to fool a lot of us, right? Like, I really believed in this shit. When Obama ran, I was like, yeah, hope and change. Yeah, it's time for a change. Let's do it. Yeah, everything's going to change. And then when he got into office, the first year I gave him grace because it's first year and all that kind of stuff. I started to realize, I'm like, this dude is just like all the people who came before him. He's not different. He sold us this dream, and even Obamacare, that ended up being a mess as well. Because what is the ultimate answer? The ultimate answer is universal health care. Not all this means testing crap. You go to other countries, they don't have to deal with this mess. That's the ultimate answer. But if you are trying to do the bidding of corporations, if you're trying to do the bidding of big pharma, you're not going to push that. And you're not going to try to actually accomplish that. Look at the donors. So he proceeds to wait for this water.
Somebody obviously didn't hear me. Hold on a second. Now, the reason I know I'm okay is because I already had some Flint water. There we go. I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt. Now, I'm going to talk.
Yeah, he didn't actually drink that water. And it wasn't until I saw that documentary from Michael Moore where he zoomed in on him. Michael Moore was talking about Flint. I forget. I think it's called Sicko. Is that the one? Sicko. He zoomed in on him and you could see he didn't actually drink that water because he knew that water wasn't clean. And he stood right there and said to the people, look, everything's lookity, whoopity, whoopity. So Megan, honey, I wish that Barack Obama was out there doing those things that you're claiming that, oh, he made everything, he was so divisive, he made it all about race or whatever, and da. Because there's multiple conversations where when he was talked to about the Black community, he pivoted away. So Megan, honey, I don't know what's going on, but for the love of God, do not give Barack Obama credit for something that he did not do. Thank you. People are losing their minds. Jeez Louise. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Thank you. Alrighty. LPA Film said, I'm not a fan of Obama, but come on, Megyn Kelly. Like, what is she talking about? Thank you, Kenman. George Clinton was the funkiest president by far. George Clinton. We want the funk. Gotta have that funk. Yeah. Thank you, Q. What the racist bimbo blow mean by Obama being divisive? Is he having the audacity running and winning the presidency of the United States? Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? Like him just being there and being Black? I don't understand. Susan says, Sabby, some people lost the house that they had paid off. That's true as well. Thank you, Jay. This is the same Obama who chastised Black men who didn't fall in line for Kamala. He's two-faced and a hypocrite. The problem is you brothers. Remember he said that? Thank you, Gamble. Maybe Obama assisted Black Americans in an alternate Marvel universe, but he was Captain Neglect on this earth. His 8 years in office stopped the cap. Thank you, House. Megyn and Charlie Kirk lie. They know they're lying. And shout out to Joey Peltier. All of those crumbs to the Native American nations from Obama was to manufacture consent for the land grab and theft that his administration did. Nota PL. Shout out to Joey Peltier, who's been a member for 26 months. Thank you. Yeah, they just be pandering to people. Let's get those comments on Rockfin, and then we'll go to the next story. Thank you, Dave. Wasn't it a long Muser question type gun? Seems like it might be harder to disassemble fast. Yeah, I don't know. Like the story didn't add up to me. And thank you for this one. Right in the middle of the fight back in Boston area, Eastern Mass, city life became nationally famous big time. I could tell the organizing story sometime. Thank you. Okie dokie. Let's keep the show going. Again, the theme is people are losing their minds. And one of those people that has lost his damn mind is Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is out there right now in Israel doing the most. Just doing the most. And it is possible that he will have the ability to do the most to us here. Check this out, fam. Shout out to The Intercept for this article here. There is a new bill that would give Marco Rubio thought police power to revoke U.S. passports. Rubio has already sought to punish immigrants for speech. Now, new legislation might let him do it for U.S. citizens. What I tell you. Here we go. Marco Rubio stripped Turkish doctoral student Ramisa Öztürk of her visa based on what a court later found was nothing more than her opinion piece critical of Israel. But now, a bill introduced by the chair of the House of Foreign Affairs Committee is ringing alarm bells for civil liberties advocates who say it would grant Rubio the power to revoke the passports of American citizens on similar grounds. Does everybody see what's happening now? First of all, taking away your passport because you criticize Israel. Like, this is authoritarian. For you to tell people, well, they can't leave the country because they're criticizing Israel. Like, is this the United States of America or is this Israel? It's absolutely insane. It goes on to say here, this provision is sponsored by Representative Brian Mast, that crazy guy. He's a Republican from Florida, as part of a larger State Department reorganization, and it is set for a hearing on Wednesday. Now, his legislation says that it takes aim at terrorists and traffickers, but critics say it could be used to deny American citizens the right to travel based solely on their speech. The State Department said it doesn't comment on pending legislation. Of course. Seth Stern, the director of advocacy at Freedom of Press Foundation, said the bill would open the door to thought policing at the hands of one individual. Marco Rubio has claimed the power to designate people terrorist supporters based solely on what they think and say, even if what they say doesn't include a word about a terrorist organization or terrorism. So this is where we're headed, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the thing I said before about the free speech. This is why I say, like, I support free speech. I support speech that I do not agree with. I support speech that I find to be problematic. And this is one of the reasons why. I'm seeing a lot of people right now, kind of that they said they were pro free speech, but the moment they see speech that they disagree with, they want to shut down. They want people in prison because of it. And it's very dangerous, folks. Marco Rubio, don't forget how he went after certain students for writing an op-ed about Israel. Marco Rubio fights more for Israel than he does for the United States, than he does for the American people. And the sad part about it is, Marco Rubio may not have that position if it wasn't for the support that he also got from Democrats. Don't forget, Bernie Sanders is criticizing Marco Rubio, and he should, but he voted for him. You got to remember these things. We all knew what Marco Rubio wanted. He was very vocal about what he wanted to do. Vague terrorist designations. Mast, for his part, has publicly voiced his support for kicking terrorist sympathizers out of our country. At the time, he was talking about deporting Mahmoud Khalil. You guys remember Mahmoud Khalil? He was the green card holder at that time. This new bill claims to target a narrow set of people. One section grants the Secretary of State the power to revoke or refuse to issue passports for people who have been convicted or merely charged of material support for terrorism. Kia, a senior policy counsel at the American Civil Liberties Union, said that language would accomplish little in practice since terror convictions come with stiff prison sentences and pretrial defendants are typically denied bail. The other section sidesteps the legal process entirely. Rather, the Secretary of State would be able to deny passports to people whom they determine has knowingly aided, assisted, abetted, or otherwise provided material support to an organization the Secretary has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Let's highlight this part here. Aided, assisted, abetted, provided. Pull this up. Knowingly aided, assisted, abetted, or otherwise provided material support to an organization. They are a little vague with this, and that's intentional, right? Because they have been saying that the pro-Palestinian protesters are supporting a terrorist organization. When the pro-Palestinian protesters are calling for a free Palestine, they're calling for a ceasefire, they're calling for an end to the genocide. Now, the US government has deemed Hamas to be a terrorist organization. But under international law says that people who are occupied have the right to resist with armed force. The point that I'm trying to make is this, folks. If they have a loose definition of what they deem to be terrorism, we all know this bill is really about Israel, then that means that they could also target people who participate in the protest, aided, assisted, abetted, or provided material support to said organization. Let's continue on here. The reference to material support disturbed advocates who have long warned the government that the government can misuse statutes criminalizing material support for terrorists first passed after the 1996 Oklahoma City federal building bombing and toughened after the September 11 attacks to punish speech. Some of those fears have been borne out. The Supreme Court ruled in 2010 that even offering advice about international law to designated terror groups could be classified as material support. So do you see how they're expanding it? Now it's even offering advice about international law. The government even deemed a woman who was kidnapped and forced to cook and clean for Salvadorian guerrillas a material supporter of terrorism. Since September 11, pro-Israel lawmakers and activists have ratcheted up attempts to expand the scope and the use of anti-terror laws. This is intentional. The ADL goes on to say here in a letter last year that the Students for Justice in Palestine was providing material support. Do you see what they're doing here? So this, ladies and gentlemen, pay very close attention. I know right now the Charlie Kirk death is taking a lot of news, and that's in the forefront. A lot of people are focusing on that. But at the time that that's happening, they're trying to sneak these pieces of legislation through. This is what they try to do. It's like when we're focused on one thing, they're trying to pass legislation that could greatly impact our lives, but we're not focused on it. So we got to keep an eye on this one. Marco Rubio right now is kissing the wall. You see? So here is Marco Rubio right next to who I actually consider the real president of the United States, right next to Benjamin Netanyahu. And there's Mike Huckabee, right? So does everybody see what's really going on here? Right? Okay. So let me explain something when I talk about the organizations. This is important for people to understand. Somebody already said it in the chat, and I'll bring that up in just a second. They can target any of these organizations that have supported pro-Palestine efforts. And also, I'm willing to bet this, even some of the organizations that are supporting reparations. I'll call it out right now. Here are some of the ones that I'm telling you that they may try to target. PSL, which is the Party for Socialism and Liberation. That is one that will probably be on their radar. Any of the communist organizations, so like the Communist Party for Communist Party USA, Communist Party America, that organization, they'll try to go after those. Basically, a lot of these are going to be left or left-leaning organizations. Don't be surprised if they go after DSA, although DSA is, some of them support Israel's right to, exist and defend itself, and some of them don't. But ultimately, they could be targeted as well. But I think that they would more likely go after these organizations that are a little bit more to the left of that, right? And last but not least, someone already peeped it out. Keebler. If this passes, ADOS will be declared a terrorist organization soon afterwards. This is another thing I want to give people the heads up about, right? The ADOS organization has been smeared multiple times by corporate media pundits. They have been called Russian puppets, Russian accounts. That's not true. But ADOS is American Descendants of Slavery. It's an organization that advocates for, again, the just due, the reparations that is owed to descendants of slavery. But because they have already been targeted, they have already been labeled and marked as, oh, these are Russian people, these are Putin puppets or whatever. They've been labeled as MAGA, which is not true. They're not MAGA. But they are asking for specific things for American descendants of slavery from politicians. They're asking for those things. Do not be surprised if they start to go after these groups as well. Meanwhile, you have the KKK organization in the US, which still exists. You have neo-Nazi organizations in the US, which still exist. But that's not who they're going to go after, because those two organizations that I just mentioned, KKK, neo-Nazis, they still serve white supremacy. They're not going to go after them. But these other groups, and especially the ones in particular that are asking for something for their specific group, could be a primary target. So when you see this wall, when everybody see this, Anamali Yeshita, exactly, right, Ashura, the Uhuru movement, they've already been targeted. But don't be surprised if they say, oh, well, you are supporting that as well, right? Wu said, I've seen Black content creators call ADOS Russian, but I have too. I've seen them do that too. So do you see what's happening, folks? This is what I'm saying. They already put the narrative out there. Now you see Marco Rubio and them at this wall. These are all the playmakers here, right? So this is really who they work for. They don't work for, they supposed to be working for Trump, but Trump working for them too. This is who they answer to. This guy right here. So do you see how quickly? Oh, and by the way, when it comes to identity, when it comes to, oh, don't talk about race, don't talk about this or whatever. When it comes to ethnicity, when it comes to identity, all of that don't talk about this conversation goes out the door when that identity is Israel. So we got to stay on this, guys. We got to pay attention to what's happening, especially Marco Rubio. Mike Huckabee is a sick, psycho, sad person. But they're really like losing their minds, and they're trying to find a way as best as possible to, really get Americans, the majority of Americans, back on board with supporting Israel. So I don't put anything past them. I really don't. But pay attention to the legislation. I'm going to follow that because I'm telling you guys, they try to sneak bills in. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. All right. Thank you, Granite. Fahrenheit 11/9 documentary covered Flint. That's the one. Thank you. Not Sicko. Oh, Sicko was the one after 2016. Maybe that was the one. I forget. Thank you, Chicka Boom Boom. The new American dream is to exodus out of America. And some people feel that way. Thank you, Mispon. Markey is committing treason with this unconstitutional bill. Thank you, Skylar. LGBT majority city West Hollywood lowered the pride and trans flags to half-staff to honor Charlie Kirk, angering residents. Pathetic plus performative. Man, I'm telling you, the common enemy is, I'm telling you, it's the billionaire class. That's the enemy. And thank you, Kenman. Hello, darkness. Oh, hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah. Great song there. Great song. Okay. Quick announcement, and we're going to keep it moving and moving. All right, guys, just a reminder, we're getting close to the launch date. All right. I am fundraising for my documentary, Removed, Black Erasure in Boston. This is to pay our editor. We're doing pretty well with fundraising. The goal is 10,000. We've got to 7,195. And Scott is doing an amazing job. He's freaking killing it. And I just want to show the trailer to you guys really quickly. Let me move this out of the way. Eric, when I'm done, you can put the link to the spot fund in the chat if people want to donate. But we're doing a really good job and we're getting close. And here's the trailer for those if you have not seen it. Yes, Boston is home to winning sports teams and elite universities. But some might say that there are two Bostons.
If you look at City Hall, no one's talking about that specific racial and historical component that Black people are the ones that are being removed.
There's a huge significant difference in lived experiences, and we know this because of the wealth report. We're at $8.
This whole plan of gentrification isn't a new concept. In every city you go into in the Northeast, they kept moving Black people out of the inner city. So it's a plan. It's been in place for a long time.
While the displacement isn't as bad as 1963, it hasn't gotten much better now.
It's by design that they've created spaces where we are no longer seen anymore. They're wiping us out one community at a time, and they're getting away with it. This is gentrification. Franklin Park has been a place where we have built community, and all these things are at risk.
Why is the mayor willing to throw herself on this sword, do or die, for this project? It's not about soccer. It's about the additional profits that can be made in this entertainment complex. It's a disrespect that you would take public parkland and then give it to a private group to control it. And this project is Emmett Till's mama pulling back a curtain. And if people don't look at what's behind that curtain, it's coming to them.
Right. All right. That's the trailer there for the documentary. Like I said, we're making a really good progress, you guys. Eric, can you put the link or actually I'll do it because I got to go to the share button. For those of you, if you want to donate, the big thing that I'm super excited about is that we already got the illustrator because we are having illustrations as well throughout this documentary. So we're doing pretty well. Over the weekend on Saturday. Oh, you did. Okay. Thanks, Eric. Over the weekend on Saturday, I did a photo shoot for the poster, which I think is going to look really good. So yeah. All righty. Moving on to the next one. So when I say people are losing their minds, I mean, people are losing their minds. Okay. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, there is now an ongoing doxing campaign where people are being fired from their jobs because they celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. And I do not agree with celebrating this. I told you guys how I feel about that. But teachers and primarily are one of the professions that is really being targeted. But there is also a website now that has been created where people are offering up information that should not be public, like the address, etc., and is actually very dangerous. I am not in favor of doxing. I don't know how other people feel about that, but I think it's dangerous. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right. I think people have a right to say what they want to say, whether I support it or not. But yes, teachers have already been fired because of this. Let's go ahead and get into this. And then I'm going to tell you why I think a lot of the teachers were targeted. Let's get into it.
So when public figures say kind of the right thing, we're going to highlight it here. We've been doing that with the likes of Governor Spencer Cox today. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about Senator Bernie Sanders. I was watching what he had to say earlier. But then there is the backlash when public officials are fired because of the way they have responded in some cases to Charlie Kirk's murder. And yes, indeed, we have seen some of that too. So News Nation politics are powered by The Hill, and White House correspondent Alex Cantitano joins us on this from the North Lawn at the White House. So put up the headline from The Hill about teachers and firefighters, officials who are on leave, fired over their posts related to the Charlie Kirk murder. Alex, what do we know about this?
Yeah, we've seen teachers, college-level teachers that have been fired for largely because of things they've put on social media, saying, you know, this is karma or some other awful statements. That's this gut reaction that they've had to the murder of Charlie Kirk. They've decided to put out there, and it's interesting. I think it's notable that these are largely university professors or people in these positions of power, that it comes, you know, they're educators. They're people that are teaching the next generation versus someone just, you know, if you go on Reddit, you'll see people's personal takes on whatever issue and they can say anything they want, you know, when you're representing yourself. But if you're representing a higher institution or an office, you're an elected official or whatever else, you know, then it becomes this sticky territory.
And let me talk about that sticky territory. So I think the teachers was an easy target because teachers do work for the government. And people ask, like, do teachers work for the government? Technically, yes, they work for the state government. So when you are in those positions where you're working for like a local government or a federal government, it can make it so that some activity that you do outside of your profession can cause you to lose your job. And I'm not saying it has to be, you know, criminal. Obviously, criminal can cause that, but even activity or behavior that is not criminal. So people do have to remember that about teaching, is that you can lose your job because of this. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples. I have seen stories where teachers have been fired because they had an OnlyFans account, right? So they were provocative on OnlyFans. I've seen stories where teachers have been fired because of past behavior, where, like, let's say they did something, you know, kind of former stripper or something like that, but that was in the past. But in the internet age, those things have managed to resurface. Like, so teachers can be fired because of their behavior outside of the classroom. But this is going even further. It's not just people targeting teachers. They're targeting people from any and every profession, trying to get them fired. Now, when I say doxing is when someone goes after you and they leak or reveal information about you that is private or should be private or could greatly cause you harm, like giving people your address, your place of employment, your phone number, if that's not public, which a lot of us for nowadays isn't, those types of things, leaking or telling people who your kids are, what school they go to, those types of things. That's doxing. And now there seems to be this big old, like, kind of social media effort that is happening where people are saying, this account said this, put them on the folder, put them in a database. Someone created an entire database to basically mark and name people because they celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. And I got to say something about this. I told you guys I do not agree with the celebrating. At the same time, I find it very strange. I can't remember a time when I've seen this level of response for anyone's death. It's very strange to me, because I've seen people make memes. I've seen people make jokes. I've seen people celebrate death of other people. People were celebrating the death of Hulk Hogan. But I've never seen this coordinated effort where people are going as far as to dox people because they did that, trying to get people fired because they did that. And so to me, it's just like, it's just really bizarre behavior. And I really don't think that this solves anything. I don't think that this is the answer.
You know, I think you're right to display the positive, the things that people are saying, like Governor Cox, that is a message that we should all resonate with, versus people, you know, spewing online their initial gut reactions to things that isn't appropriate, really, once I think they take a step back and think about it.
Yeah, because like George Will was saying a minute ago, and we have a choice, like media-wise, you're hosting a show, you're writing a column or whatever you're doing, that we can choose the voices we amplify, that we think are the most important. And that's why we keep going back to Governor Cox. That's why I've watched Bernie Sanders' comments, and we'll play them later, because, that's our choice. Now, that said, it's not to say stories like this aren't important, but it speaks to the social media, at least to me, a lot. I mean, the governor himself was saying it was a cancer. I have a statement here that was put out in an opinion piece by Senator Mitch McConnell on some of this, that guardrails matter. McConnell saying that they keep the American experiment rolling, and passionate disagreement is a sign of health. Political violence, like yesterday's sickening display, a sign of decay. So to excuse or encourage it is to place a cynical bet against America. So again, that's a public official. So another thought on this, maybe.
That's right.
Well,
Senator.
Before she gives her thought, there's something else that I wanted to add about this, because like I said, you guys, I've never seen this type of behavior before. And I've watched people make fun of, other people's deaths as well. But for whatever reason with this one, it's just so odd to me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I think maybe people need to take a break from social media as well. But guess who else is going to be a target here? Black Twitter. I still call it Twitter. Fuck you, Elon. Black Twitter is going to be a target because a lot of the tweets that I know that I saw, and some of you saw too, celebrating Charlie Kirk's death came from Black Twitter. By Black Twitter, for those who don't know, I mean Black people who have Twitter accounts. But that is a big thing. I'm trying to tell you guys, when I say I'm pro free speech, I'm pro free speech. And if somebody says these things and I don't like it, then I just don't like it. It is what it is. But I do not want people to be targeted. I don't want people to be doxxed. Here's another thing about doxing people. The address that has been added to these databases or whatever, sometimes the public address isn't even correct. I've experienced this with myself. You may have experienced this where your address is listed as one thing and you don't even live there anymore. That's actually your previous address, but it still shows up on Google as that is a place where you lived or where you had lived. So they're putting addresses out there into the ether, into the open. And not only that, but that address may not be the actual address of the person that you're trying to dox. They may not even live there anymore, which also means that you could be targeting someone else. 2, putting people's addresses online like that puts them at risk. It also puts their children at risk. There are crazy people out there who will show up to someone's home and try to harm them because their name has been put there on that database. So it's scary. I never have approved with doxing. I've never agreed with this at all. And I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. You are basically making a targeted list. That's really what you're doing. She'll go on a little bit more here, and I'm going to show you that website.
Senator McConnell is that old school politician that you come to Capitol Hill, you make friends with people across the aisle, you might not agree with them, you might actively yell at them during a committee hearing, and at the end of the day, maybe you all get dinner downtown. And that's the way a lot of politics used to be around here. And I think McConnell is displaying that of, we don't need to be in this position that we're all constantly arguing and can't get along with one another. And I think, looking to officials like that is, hopefully Americans can look at that and think, just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean you have to think the worst of them. I don't know if you saw the photo of Congressman Raskin of Maryland hugging Congresswoman Boebert of Colorado on the Capitol steps yesterday. I thought that was so striking. I wish more people could see that, because it shows, they could fight, they disagree on literally everything. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We've had a tough week, and we can, give each other a hug, a pat on the back, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, you would hope it would be that way, but I just feel like we are far past those times. I mean, I've been trying to tell people we all need to come together over that one common interest that we have, and that's fighting back against the billionaires, right? Like, the majority of us are not, I don't think any billionaires watching me, So I want to show you this here. So this account here on X or Twitter, Expose Charlie's Murderers, a searchable database of over 20,000 individuals celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder will soon be available on our website. It will be searchable by general location, employer, and industry type. political violence can never be the answer. So this is how far it's going, guys. This is how far. Oz, my comrade from Beauty and the Boomer, can you make one for the genocide first? Oh, wait, never mind. They are both devastating to real human beings. Let's search out those truly responsible for actual murders and hold them accountable. Say no to any kind of violence. There are numerous videos circulating on Twitter and other platforms showing IDF soldiers celebrating, including dancing, singing, rejoicing, doing operations, often in the context of destruction or military achievements. Another comment here. Elon Musk posts this. I don't really know what Elon really means by this. If you are unfairly treated by your employer due to posting or liking something on this platform, we will fund your legal bill. No limit. Please let us know. I don't think Elon's actually going to do that, but whatever it is, what it is. Just a Thought says conditioning the general public for social credit scores and digital ID, walking directly into the trap. Yeah, I am 100% against this. 100% against doxing. And this website here, Expose Charlie's Murderers. It says Charlie Kirk was murdered, is an employee or a student. They're even including students with this, of yours supporting political violence online. Look them up on this website. Send information or anyone celebrating Charlie's death. Follow us on X and Twitter for Charlie Kirk. Attention, the website will soon be converted into a searchable database of over 30,000 submissions, filterable by general location and job industry. This is one thing I will say. You guys see this? And then it has the option for people here to make a submission. There's also a donation option, join the mailing list. And I just want to say this. I think this is something the left can learn. I will say this. Do you see how quickly the right mobilizes and organizes? The left doesn't do that. We don't mobilize and organize that quickly. Part of that has to do with funds, but another part of that it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of division here also on the left. But see how they just got together like that and said, let's just put this together, and it's dangerous. It is dangerous. So the fact that this is even here, that even exists, and there's no telling that they even have the right information for said person. But that's a hit list. That's exactly what I call it. And in there including students as well. Guys, I have never seen this for any other person. Not even popular celebrities who have been mocked, who have had their death mocked, etc. Something is array here. Like something is really not right. And I think people just need to be prepared because this just does not make any sense. I've never seen it, never seen anything like this. And it makes me wonder, this account, it makes me wonder who this account, this Expose Charlie's Murders, who actually runs that account. Because anybody can open an account on X. So it makes me wonder who is really running this account. People are asking, is it legal? I don't know. I don't even know, but it's dangerous. I know that. And I want to point out something else. This is why you guys have got to be careful, particularly, especially on Twitter. Bot farms. Israel controls thousands of fake social media profiles across platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Gmail. These fakes persona bots spread propaganda, amplify narratives, and harass targets in real time. They like, share, comment, and repost each other's content to create the illusion of organic popularity and public consensus. I want to show you this here. Look at the video. So I have been trying to warn people about this for quite some time. Do not argue with the Zionists online. A lot of these accounts, they're not real people, but they want you to believe they are, right? So it's an illusion. And it's just a question of, do you believe the illusion? But do not argue with them online, block and move on, or just ignore, mute and ignore. Do not argue with them. We're living in some crazy times, guys. Like I said, people have lost their minds. Let's go to the comment on Rockfin. Thank you. Then we'll get to the last story. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Dave. Congrats on the documentary, Sabs. I don't have much this month in Flow Cash, but another small tip to recognize the hot documentary coming. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you. All right, all right. Eric will get the other super chats at the end of the show. For timing purposes, I do want to go ahead and make sure I jump into the final story here. Max Blumenthal is probably the most trendable name right now outside of Charlie Kirk because of the Gray Zone article that was released. I covered that on Saturday and uploaded a video about that. But there was more information that was also provided in his discussion with Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon, he's a comedian. I think he's pretty funny, but he also has a podcast. And I think it's great that the Gray Zone was able to go on there. I want you to hear some of the things that Max said during this conversation with Tim Dillon. It's not just about Charlie Kirk. It's also about what has been happening with Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu behind the scenes. Everyone, check this out. Again, shout out to Tim for bringing the Gray Zone on.
How did you put together this story? I mean, I know you don't ask a journalist to reveal their sources, but how exactly do you compile this piece?
Well, just to answer your question before I get into the piece, I have been following Charlie Kirk for 10 years, since almost soon after he started TPUSA when he was a teenager. And I was following him as a critic or an opponent. I saw him as this kind of very hardworking, highly articulate, sort of like superhuman, ultra-conservative operative that the Israel lobby had basically hijacked, and they were using him to create the biggest Republican or conservative youth movement in history, TPUSA, and use it to advance Israel's program in the US alongside all of the kind of conservative social issues he wanted to push, and, you know, recruit the youth and train them and make sure that they stayed completely aligned with Benjamin Netanyahu's Israel. And these billionaire donors, they're American, but they're loyal to Israel primarily. And they actually don't care about issues like abortion or LGBTQ, or maybe some of them don't like mass immigration because they think immigrants might turn against Israel, but their issue is Israel. And Charlie Kirk was going to advance that for them. And in exchange, he'd be built up as like the biggest conservative youth leader in history.
So does everybody see what's going on here? What I like about this is one of the first things that Max mentions here is the billionaires, billionaire class, billionaire donors. Follow the money and then you'll get the answer to a lot of the questions that you have. So all this money that was pouring into that organization, like I said, that money comes with strings attached. Like, people just don't give you billions of dollars to say good luck and have fun. So the idea is that they would push the Zionist narrative, this pro-Israel message. And then, of course, you know, the social issues would go along with that as well. But they gave the money so that it would remain pro-Israel and continue to spread that. Follow the money, folks.
I've been following him for 10 years. I have no reason to say anything. Obviously, I was horrified by his killing. And I think it's a terrible omen for this country, but I have no reason to say anything positive about him or to think that he was anything less than a complete cadre for the Israel lobby. and they basically owned him. They basically controlled him.
Well,
and he started to move away. And I was hearing about, just to tell you about how this kind of this article came into being, I was hearing about this before he was killed, that something through the grapevine. I mean, I grew up in Washington. I've been in the city, so people talk. And, honestly, even though I'm more from the left, people from the Trump administration and around the Trump administration talk more to us than the Biden administration did. They talk more to alternative media. So I was hearing about the pressure that Charlie Kirk was under in the months before he was killed. This was not unfamiliar to me. And so I decided to go back to some sources that we had and ask what was, for more details.
Well, even as somebody who you were a political opponent of his,
So do you guys hear what Max just said? He was already hearing about that prior to the incident.
It's obvious, seeing a lot of people gleefully celebrating his vicious murder, obviously you don't have to agree with someone to not delight in their murder. I mean, I've been surprised, friends of mine, people that I know, and their reactions to this have actually shocked me and shaken me a little bit. I want to get back to this turn that he makes. Do you have a timestamp on when he's starting to question really Israeli influence in American domestic politics? Because I'm reading your article and you talk about, your source is talking about Charlie kind of starting to question the amount of influence that Israel has in U.S., not only domestic politics, but foreign politics as well. Do you put this right around the time that we attack Iran? Is this before that? Is this after that? How, what do you know about his progression?
Let me just close a window here because I have some noise coming in.
It happens.
So yeah, I'll come.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is one of the most fascinating stories I've witnessed in American politics. It could be the theme of a film or a documentary or a book. Charlie Kirk began coming under pressure from his own base. I would say, I actually forgot which year it was, but it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And it was called the Groyper Wars. And Charlie Kirk would do these TPUSA tours around the country, and young men would file in, and they would, you get to question Charlie Kirk and debate him. And they hit him from an angle he never expected. They were from this organization called the Groypers, which sort of follows Nick Fuentes. They're anti-Israel. They're kind of anti-Jewish. Some people call them white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. They're very anti-Israel, and they believe they're the true voice of America first, because the U.S. government has fallen under the control of this malign foreign power in Israel. And so they would confront Charlie Kirk with the history of, for example, the USS Liberty, the U.S. naval ship that was deliberately struck by the Israeli military in the 1967 war in order to cripple that boat because it was a surveillance boat. It was listening to Israeli communications. And they killed scores of sailors. And they would confront Charlie Kirk with the difference between Israeli interests and American interests while holding up a cross. And Charlie Kirk would just shut down the conversation because he knew that if he would give an inch to them, it would threaten the relationship with his donors, and TPUSA would collapse. Now,
Pause that for a second. So for those who are not aware, Nick Fuentes, he also had an interview not too long ago with Candace Owens. Like, he's kind of all over the place. He's out there calling for censorship now, by the way. The guy who said he was pro free speech and against the censorship, he's out there calling for censorship now. So I thought what was interesting about this is that Max is calling out the fact that there was some pressure prior, a couple years ago, because of the Nick Fuentes crew style or whatever, that decided to listen more to Nick and started to push back against Charlie Kirk. I've seen some of those video clips where they have shown up at events that Charlie Kirk was giving speeches at. So I have kind of seen that. So it seems like there was pressure coming from different sides, like not just, the donors, not just Netanyahu, but also the Nick Fuentes, group or whatever. Let's continue on here. I think I already have that timestamp already ready here. Yeah, I do. Okay, here we go.
Now, after October 7th, the pressure was just too extreme. The whole grassroots of the conservative movement, everyone under 35, started to question the U.S.-Israel relationship because they wanted to be America first. And they saw Netanyahu just leading Trump around by the balls. They saw Miriam Adelson, this Israeli intelligence asset billionaire, just calling shots inside the White House. And a lot of them are pro-life and were horrified by the slaughter of babies that they saw in Gaza. So the bottom dropped out of right-wing youth support for Israel to the point where now only about 25% of Republicans under 35 support Israel over Palestine. So Charlie Kirk has to answer to his own grassroots base. And you can hear he's starting to make some noises. He's talking about October 7th possibly being an inside job. Israel let it happen in order to carry out long-term political goals. He starts to question whether Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli Mossad agent at a time when the Epstein files were becoming an uncomfortable issue for Trump. And it all blew out into the open at TPUSA's July Youth Summit in, I believe it was Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
Might have been Tallahassee.
Yeah, Tucker gave the speech.
Right.
Right.
So Tucker gave a speech. I mean, that was the seminal moment, but it wasn't just Tucker. Megyn Kelly had started questioning Israel, and she's on stage calling Jeffrey Epstein a Mossad agent with Charlie. Comic Dave Smith, who, like myself, is a Jewish anti-Zionist, but he more comes from kind of the libertarian world. So he was welcomed on stage to debate a Zionist propagandist who works for Newsweek, Joshua Hammer. Debate, no, that's not something you want, especially at this point, if you are like a pro-Israel enforcer. And Dave Smith was openly talking about the slaughter of children in Gaza and
This is a big one. A lot of people are pointing towards the Dave Smith appearance there at the Turning Point USA conference in Florida. And a lot of us covered that. Like, I know I covered what Dave Smith said there, because he said it, and he said, like, you can't say you're pro-life and you're okay with the slaughter of all those kids that's happening in Gaza. And here's the sticky part, right? I mean, if the organization for a long time has kind of been known as, that's one of their big key, items there is to be pro-life, and you got a genocide happening. I mean, you kind of look some type of way if you agree with the genocide, but you say you pro-life and all these babies are being killed. You see, that's the sticky part, right? So I don't know, but a lot of people pointed towards Dave Smith being on that stage, and some people felt that that was problematic for Charlie Kirk at that particular time.
the crowd was cheering in this cathartic way. Then Tucker comes out, says, you should have your citizenship yanked if you fight for a foreign army. All right. Hundreds and hundreds, thousands of American Jewish youth go to Israel and fight for their army instead of our own. So that's a direct blow to not just the Israel lobby, but like the whole concept of Jewish communal life as it's understood by its leadership. Then Tucker calls out Bill Ackman, who's one of the biggest Netanyahu money men inside the US, who's pulling strings at Harvard, getting their funding pulled unless they crack down on Palestine activism. And he questions Bill Ackman. He calls him a scam artist and said, how did he make $9 billion? Like, where did it come from? I mean, and Bill Ackman, the next day, he couldn't really answer the question. He published like a 5,000 word meltdown Twitter post trying to defend his financial investments. It was just bonkers. I'd never seen anything like it.
I didn't either. Bill Ackman, for those who may not remember, he is the billionaire that he is the reason why the former president of Harvard University, Claudine Gay, was pushed to resign because those pro-Palestinian protests that started at Harvard From what I understand, his daughter was also a student at Harvard. He has donated a lot of money to Harvard, and he is also an alum of Harvard University. This guy single-handedly was able to get the president of Harvard University to resign. Like these, when I tell you the billionaires go after the billionaires, that's what I'm talking about. When I say that we got to stop, like, voting for anybody who was taking billionaire money, I'm pointing at people like Bill Ackman too, because he donates to politicians as well. So this is why I say it all goes back to the money. We have to have clear demands, guys. We have to have clear demands to build a type of movement that is going to tear down this system and build a new one. Because you can replace all these politicians. You can put in a new puppet here, a new puppet there. But if the system that is still there still remains, we're going to continue to hit up against a wall. And that's why people get disappointed. That's why people get disappointed when they see AOC waivers on things. That's why people get disappointed and let down when they see, even some of the state legislatures, they start to waver on things. Because until you get that money out and the money controls it all, we are always going to run into this issue. Now, they'll still give you some things. They'll give you like crumbs here and there. But real systemic change is going to come from removing that money from the political system. And there are a lot of billionaires who donate to politicians.
And it was all Charlie Kirk's fault for sanctioning, for giving basically the people what they wanted. And after that, he started getting publicly attacked. Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, the two biggest Zionist enforcers in the media, who are very close to Netanyahu, biggest forces lobbying Trump to wage war on Iran, went off on TPUSA, said we can't be having a Big Ten if it includes kooks. Laura Loomer, we all know who she is. She publicly attacked Charlie Kirk and said he basically had to step down. He was getting attacked in pro-Israel media. What we didn't know, which I learned, is in private, the pressure was even more intense. He was being bombarded with text messages. And at some point, Netanyahu personally called him and offered to basically fund his organization to new levels that he never even imagined, which meant, Zionist Israeli takeover, complete recapture of TPUSA, an organization they basically helped create. And Charlie Kirk turned him down. Now, after Charlie Kirk was killed, we know that Netanyahu wouldn't stop posting about him. Like minutes after he was killed, when his body was still warm, Netanyahu was posting about him, interrupting his 7-front war in the Middle East and his global assassination spree, where he's trying to kill people even inside a U.S. ally in Qatar.
Can you remember any time that in the history of a political assassination that the leader of a foreign government has come out to deny that they were behind it? I mean,
I've never seen anything like that.
Right. I mean,
That's why this is so weird. I'm telling you guys, pay attention to the behavior, right? Like, to me, I'm just like, dude, okay. Nobody else is like, dude, you're going from 0 to 10. Benjamin Netanyahu went from 0 to 10. Let me read a letter that Charlie Kirk gave to me. And he said that he was gonna, letter we can't see, by the way. No, it's ridiculous. Israel had nothing to do with this. Who paged you? It just show up out of the blue nowhere. It's very weird. Just strange to me, right? So I hadn't seen that either. And then there's one more part I want to show you here as well, because I do want you to make sure you see the full interview. But this part right here about Donald Trump, I thought this was interesting as well. Man, protect Tim Dillon and protect Max Blumenthal.
And it's a fear that I've been told Donald Trump shares. I've been told that by
that was my next question.
Several Trump insiders.
My next question is, does the president of the United States fear for his life?
Yes. Yes. I mean, obviously he fears for his life. And I was told that he feared for his life before the 2 assassination attempts, one coming within a millimeter of striking his head. I mean,
pause. Can we go back? What was that? I'm making sure I'm at the right part.
Material evidence that Israel had him killed, but there's this fear when you go against the Israel lobby and you're that powerful. And it's a fear that I've been told Donald Trump shares. I've been told that by
that was my next question.
Several Trump insiders.
My next question is, does the president of the United States fear for his life?
Yes. Yes. I mean, obviously he fears for his life. And I was told that he feared for his life before the 2 assassination attempts, one coming within a millimeter of striking his head. I mean,
what? So listen to this, guys. This is important, that he possibly feared for his life before the 2 assassination attempts. Now he's talking about Donald Trump here. That is when Donald Trump was running for office. Why would Donald Trump have feared for his life before he won the election, before the assassination attempts? What was going on behind the scenes? And how far back does that go? Like, did Donald Trump have that fear before he decided to run for president again? And if so, why did he decide to run? Or did he have that fear after he decided to run for president again? What was going on? I'm going to tell you, man, after this administration, I'm just wondering if somebody from the Trump administration is going to blow a whistle. And all this stuff is going to come out. What was happening behind the scenes?
Let's not forget about that.
But I mean, just to clarify, he doesn't fear for his life because of Ireland.
I mean, I've been told, yes, that Israel is a major source of concern for Trump. I mean, think about it. What would happen
this
if
is
the
our
president
ally.
just, if he suspended arms to, if he suspended arms to a country that carries out assassinations all across the globe, that specializes in assassinations, that has an entire wing of its intelligence services that conducts assassinations, including with household goods like pagers, would you not be scared? So yes, Trump is scared. And what I learned from this source, who is a Trump insider, someone who talks to who talks to people in the Oval Office, people close to Trump, is that during one of Netanyahu's many visits to the US this year, some figures in his retinue, Israeli agents, placed electronic devices on emergency response Secret Service vehicles. The Secret Service found them and they reported this to the White House. You know, these would be emergency response vehicles that would respond to an incident potentially involving the president. All right, some people watching this might be dismissing me as crazy right now, and I wasn't able to confirm this. I can't just call up the Secret Service and have them tell me that. But in 2019, 3 former high-ranking U.S. officials from the Trump administration told Politico that listening devices were found around the White House and at sensitive locations across Washington targeting President Trump. They wanted to listen to his calls and communications, and they were.
So you have Israel bugging the president of the United States, and we continue to give them money. We continue to give them the $3.8 billion in aid. If any other country were to do this, the U.S. government would be all up in arms. Could you imagine if Vladimir Putin did that? What about Xi Jinping? What about Lula? Huh? Could you imagine if any other political leader in the world did that? So our country is continuing to give money to Israel, and they don't even trust us. Why are we giving money to people that don't even trust us? So Israel is spying on us, which they've admitted to before, and we're still giving them money. What is going on?
planted by Israel. That's, you just go look that up while I'm speaking right now. Boris Johnson, the former Israeli prime minister, wrote in his memoirs that Benjamin Netanyahu asked to use his bathroom, his personal toilet, and that British security found a listening device planted in his personal toilet immediately after Netanyahu left. So Netanyahu himself dropped a listening device in the British prime minister's toilet. Like, never let Netanyahu take a dump at your house.
Let me ask you a question. In your estimation,
so Israel is the terror around the world. As many of us has come to know, they are the terror around the world. Now, the U.S. spies on other countries as well. But if any other country, any other leader, any other country did that to a president here in the U.S., you think the U.S. would just go for it? Israel gets away. They do whatever they want. This is crazy. This is insane. Now, I bring you another question. If they are willing to do that with the president of the United States, what do you think they're doing with you? If they're putting bugs or planting devices inside the White House, what do you think they're doing to you? That's why I said, don't argue with those Zionist accounts on social media. I don't think even half of them are real. I think they're just a bunch of I think they're fake. Where else do you think they could have planted devices? I mean, just think about this, folks. This is why I keep telling you, we're supposed to have a right to privacy, but we don't really have a right to privacy in this country. How we got a right to privacy if the president is bugged by Israel? So if the president don't have privacy, how we don't have privacy?
Why do things like this not damage relations between the U.S. and Israel more, or the UK and Israel? You know, when an ally is found to be, now everybody spies on everybody, but when you are putting a listening device in the prime minister's bathroom, or you're putting, reportedly putting tracking devices on Secret Service emergency response vehicles, where is the fallout from that? Is there any? Is there any diplomatic fallout from that?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, think of all the things Israel does. Israel just is seeking to drag the U.S. into an all-out war with Iran. Where's the fallout from that? The fallout is among the people. It's among the young people who watch your show, who follow social media, who don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Like, they're paying attention, and they have almost no power in this country on this issue because of Israel's ethno-supremacist bribery network known as AIPAC, which controls Congress with a hammerlock. Look at like two of the few voices in Congress who spoke out about these issues.
Marjorie
Cori
Bush was kicked out.
And Jamal Bowman.
Kicked out.
Kicked out. But AIPAC spent almost $20 million. And they were like backbenchers. Like their own campaigns, they probably spent like $100,000. And they spent $20 million, like Super Bowl style ads against them.
Yeah.
And none of the ads even mentioned Israel once. And they come up with these fake stealth packs like Americans for Democracy in their district. So you don't even know it's an AIPAC ad.
That part right there, they're very tricky. And another org you guys got to watch out for is called Kufi. There's AIPAC, there's J Street, there's also Kufi. That's for the Christian Zionist. I think this is a Christian Zionist organization. That one doesn't get as much attention. I probably should do that as a separate story at some point in time, because it's not just AIPAC. There are different lobby interest groups that are for Israel, for the benefit of Israel, and they go under different names. So you just have to look those things up. And Max is spot on here. Like, again, he's from DC. He's lived there, like, I think most of his life. So he knows how, like, people work and operate there in DC. But I'm telling you, you guys, like, people are starting to ask questions, and that's good. That's something that should happen. But you're noticing, like, in the wake of all of this, people are like losing their minds. They're losing their minds because they're like, how could this happen? Like, and people have questions, and you should have questions. You should always have questions. It was something, my first supervisor told me, always have questions when you go to an interview, right? Because they're interviewing you, but you should also make sure that you're interviewing them. So you should always have questions. Never say, I don't have no questions. Never say that. Always keep thinking, right? But that conversation, you can see it on Tim Dillon's YouTube channel. Go watch the full segment. I think it's a really great discussion. Like I said, people were asking questions. I think we have a poll. Yeah, we have a poll. All righty. Thank you guys so much. Do you believe the narrative about Charlie Kirk's shooter? 6% said yes. 59% said hell no. 30% said I need more information. And 6% say I believe some of it. That is an interesting mix there. 2,378 votes. I told you we have a pretty diverse group here, ladies and gents. Ladies and gents, that is it for me. It is my hard stop for Sunday evening. Eric is going to come on and close out the show, and he's going to read the other super chats as well. I'll see you guys live on Tuesday night.
See you Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Have
Eastern
a good night.
time.
Keep up the fight.
There, she
Bye,
said
guys.
it. We still got a little bit of show left here just to read out some of these super chats and have a few quick comments. Let me see there we go. That's what I want to do. Yeah, Eric T. Red here coming from the background to the foreground. We got some super chats built up over the last couple stories. Let's see what we've got in here. Thanks for this one, Trash Panda, who says the death of Charlie Kirk has been weaponized. That's for sure. And Miles Bun, thanks for this one. He says, we are in Oceania, 1984. I hear you. It's like war is peace, truth is fiction, right? And thanks for this one, Kenman, who says, Elon's son is named X. I'll call him Twitter. I hear you. Yeah, Elon wants to call everything X, but whatever. And thanks for this one from a name I can't really pronounce, who says, peace, love, the world teacher will be seen by all, not as religious figure. And says, search Benjamin Cream plus Wiki quotes. All right. Oh, and also says huge cover-ups plus UFOs. Thanks for that one. Thanks for the super chat. Let's see. And yeah, so that's just about going to do us from here. Definitely check out that interview with Tim Dillon and Max Blumenthal. I'll put it in the chat again. And just the other thing I just wanted to highlight quickly is I heard Sabrina saying, and I think, Max says similar things, always follow that money, always bring it back to the billionaires. You always want to be, the acronym I like is MCDS. It's money, corruption, demands, and solutions, right? It's always follow the money. What you get to is you see you got billionaires at the top pulling the strings, and that's the corruption. But the other real key is then to have a demand, right? I mean, we have to do more than just call out the complaints of what's happening. So, where all these things, when you connect the dots and they lead back to the corruption, then the demand is, well, we've got to do something about the corruption, do something about the money. And that's where you have the key demand of fix big money, in politics and government. And, a way to think of it of this is right now, our government doesn't work for us. It doesn't represent us. It represents that top 0.1%, the billionaires, the huge corporations, the war machine, right? And we can't trust, so for this Charlie Kirk case, maybe it was this guy doing the shot. I think a guy like that could do it. It's basically like a hunting shot. Like hunters do with deer, but maybe there's a lot more to it, and there are things. What we need to get to the bottom of it is government and a Congress that's not totally corrupt, to have a congressional investigation, other investigations. We want to have an FBI that's not totally corrupt. And then we might be able to get somewhere to figure out what the truth is. But as long as our government is implacably corrupt, you know, the way it is, we're never going to get to that. So the key is to demand it. And if you go to 11demands.org, which I'll just show quickly here on the way out, it's all about, you know, real change starting with real demands. And the number one demand, right, if you're going on the list, because the rest connects to it, is fix that big money in government and politics. And then MCDS, the DS is demands and solutions. If you're thinking about solutions, it gets into the ones under that fix big money. So I would encourage all of you, if you're interested in more than just hearing what the problems are, but also about what we can do about it. It's about all of us doing something about it. I would ask you to go to 11 Demands, check it out. There's also 11 Demands Collective that where a group of us are kind of forming a thought collective to be using MCDS. And the other thing I would say is check out the 11 Demands Substack. There's the lead article on there, the core problem, the challenge, and the solution, which gets into spelling this stuff out. And so I'll leave that as maybe some assigned reading material for you, the viewer, if you're interested. But for us, we're going to leave it there. And let me hit the right thing here. There we go. So Sabby will be next live on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see you then live. There's also going to be a show Thursday. We got a good guest I already know lined up for Thursday, talking about kind of the technical side, about kind of the techno-feudalism type of aspect of things. Watch out for that too. But we'll have a banger show on Tuesday, I'm sure. So we'll see you then. And I think I cut everything. Oh, hang on. Oh, all right. We got one on the Rockfin. So let me catch that before we out. Sometimes when these comments come in late on the Rockfin, it's a little tricky to catch them, but we can do it. There it is. All right. Let me bring this one up. Let me resize it. There we go. And a little bit of scrolling. All right. Thanks for this tip comment on Rockfin from Lisa Ayasi, who says, why do you think Satan Yahoo, aka Militowski, talking about Bibi Netanyahu, gave Trump the golden pager? Was it a gift, a warning, or a threat? I guess we could call this one of those all of the aboves, if you're asking my opinions. And yeah, certainly Israel has an outsized influence on our government. The thing I like to do with these discussions is say, yes, that's true, but it's the billionaires on top of all that are really running everything. And so I think it's important to recognize that as well, because then that gets us to something we can do about it, right? Dealing with the corruption, dealing with cutting those puppet strings, which is the money and corruption. And we all have a role to play, and we'll be talking about that more in future. But thanks to everyone for watching and your super chats, and we'll see you all next time. And as Sabrina already said, I'll say it again. Have a good night and keep up that fight. We'll see you next time.